Okay,
and you
now,
can go back and examine the archives of all the past entries.
Okay, now real quickly, I'm going to take you through a series of little charts here that are brand new, just done. These are as a result of Joy's letters to a bunch of people in England asking for them to participate. And so one by one, these 6 or 7 men participated. Then they sent some info to Joy. Most of them sent a little bit. And so what I've done then, pat me on the back, I started down here.
And guess who was on the computer doing everything as he cried out for it?
No applause.
Can you find a marriage for so-and-so?
Okay. Here is Dr. Michael Gann. Now, some of you met him when on our last Gann tour, when we were down at Brighton having lunch. He came. Okay. And at the time, he was very confused. Well, the reason he was confused was because he came from a Gann female.
Where have we seen that happen before?
Yes, my goodness sakes. And her boyfriend was no one other than a man named William Marsland, who was in the military. And because that family was higher socially than the grocer's family, the two families wouldn't let them get married. But good old Marston came through and supported her for years. Lovers. But they couldn't marry because of social stigmas. Okay, so therefore, see, look, she named her son Cecil Marsland after Daddy, and it comes on down to Michael, his son Peter. But here's what we're going to look at. Here's George Gann, 1799 to 100, born in Canterbury, etc., died in 92 at the age of 93. So this is all the further right now I can find him. But he's in Canterbury. Big hint. Next guy. Another Mike Gann. Okay. Here's the beauty of him. He was instantly able to find him because why? In 1997, the Gazette published 3 pages of the Gann-Whitstable, the famous diving families that invented the big diving bell. All I had to do was to find a couple things and bam, it was already done for me.
This entire line is in Kent. All of this is in Kent.
Now, here's the one thing that wasn't on the chart. I found John, the father of Thomas. Well, look, he's born in 1720. So now we're getting closer back to 1600. See? All right, next. Next guy was Nigel, and I loved it. John, James, Stephen, Stephen. Ganns don't have no imagination. It's either Adam or John or Nathan. There's nobody else out there. I mean, do you know how difficult it is when you say John Gann on the computer? They laugh at you. The computer laughs at you. Well, anyway,
sometimes it sends out smoke.
So anyway, we've got him back now to 1770s in Kent. Has to be in the same family. Next. Here's Peter J. Okay. Here he is. He was born in 1950. Q means down here the second quarter. I don't know why the English do this, but they do. It's
because these entries that have the Q on them are from an index. It's an index only to the civil registrations of birth, death, and marriage in England.
Yeah.
And they do it by calendar quarter, and that's the data that's been released to the public, is these quarterly returns of indexes.
You can go on your computer to myheritage.com. That's where I'm finding most of this. And myheritage.com.
And find my past.
And find my past, etc. Now look here. We're back to the Revolutionary War period. This period.
Typo.
And we're in Jersey, halfway between England and France. Okay? Where did they come from? Which direction? Brand new. We've never seen this before. But there they are. Next. Oh, here's Richard K. Okay. We're back now to the same Gann-Whitstable. Same line, but from a different brother. Same history exactly as it's in your your Gazette. You go home and look at it. So once we can find out who this guy is, he may lead us right back to Lincolnshire, see, or to Cambridge, or to Hertfordshire. But this guy's going to go out of his mind when he gets this chart from me, because these guys don't know anything. They sent me tidbits to work from. Okay, next. Here's Robert. Here's the only Gann bunch that had any enthusiasm or creativity, from James to Austin Edward, Edward John, Jefferson J, James A to Robert Jefferson. Whole bunch of new names. Well, where are they from? Piccadilly. Piccadilly. Well, that's London, not France. Here then they're living in Kent, and back in Kent, in London. Okay, so these are all people down here in the central southeast part. See, well, we've got other people up north and over west. Where are they? They're there, but they're not turning up and matching us. So what does that mean? Gary?
In the overall Gann haplogroup of the 66, out of those who were tested, 11 of the 66 are from England. So we have a very solid body of data to match up and prove that our Ganns do come from England. This is a change from some of our earlier thinking 20, 25 years ago that the Ganns might be out of the French Huguenots who fled to England. And from this direct match, we now can say that the Gann ancestor had to come from someplace in England. We are putting it back there, not into one of the other European countries yet with immigration over.
I think that's okay. So, you want to do it?
He wants me to read everything.
Well, just summarize it.
Okay. We've worked on with both the DNA results and with paper research to tie into that. And as Thea very aptly pointed out today, you can have paper research without the DNA, but you can't have DNA research that means anything without the paper research to support it. You have to have the two of them working in concert to really get to a solid conclusion. And we know that we have some unknown generations in the gap. We don't yet know for sure who the immigrant ancestor is on either this side or the other side. We have not been able to bridge that gap across the water. We haven't proven. We think it may be William is one possibility in Maryland. We don't know yet on the English side which one left and came over and established the line that comes on down to us. We just know that by DNA, one of them did. We have found in this process a number of additional branches and several more generations that we didn't previously know in that direct line going back in England that we tie into. So overall, we've moved steadily forward in getting closer to identifying the immigrant and completing this line.
I think that's it.
Is it? Is there one more? No, that's it.
That's it. So, any questions, comments, etc.? Yeah, Lewis. Military. Military.
The only military connection we've seen at all in England was the
Marsland.
Who was the father of the one Gann Boyce. He's a Marsland Gann.
I think
I'm asking that question. Is the long reach of the English arm
Mhm.
with the fleets
yeah.
and to send people all over the world
Right.
and a slug of them to this time,
Yeah,
protected and so forth.
a couple years ago, I did find one record of a soldier, and when I traced it out, it just petered out to zero. But I think basically the answer to your question is just don't see it. Okay. Good question.
About 20, 25 years ago, I was working through a number of registers of soldiers in the British Library in London and extracting Tom's entries. And I also looked for Gann. I don't recall running across hardly any at that time.
Don?
I'm just wondering if you've ever found a connection between that other line of Gann that went to Australia and our line, because they don't match in DNA in any shape or form.
Yeah. Well, I've never done any work on that at all.
No, but I was just wondering, some of the Ganns that we've tested, do they trace to the other line of Gann?
Joey might.
There is one connection. If you remember the Robert Gann, the one that he says he goes back to Lincolnshire. He had an ancestor named Austin. You remember
Yeah.
that, Bill?
Yes, right.
Well, there was sort of an interesting story there. Several years ago, Jeffrey sent me a letter that his wife had received from a man in Australia. His name was Fitzpatrick. And he said his wife traced back to an Austin Gann who had come from Lincolnshire to England, and he listed the year. It was way back, I don't remember the exact year. And he wanted to know if Jeffrey knew anything about it. Well, he didn't, and he sent it to me to see if I could help him, and I couldn't. So, when Robert mentioned to me in an email that he had an ancestor named Austin, it immediately came to mind, that letter, and I went back. So obviously, since Robert matches the Austin Gann, who was his great uncle or something like that, his line would match. But now we've tested at least two. We tested a Graham Gann from Australia and Lawrence Gann, and maybe others whose name I can't call right now, and they do not match. But the problem there is Lawrence happens to be a pen pal of Carolyn Dufresne, and after a little questioning about where he came from, it turns out he says he came from Ireland, and I'm almost certain he was a Matt Gann, and probably dropped the MC. We've had several cases of that, when they have dropped the MC and you don't know about it by the time we get hold of it. So they're just a different group. We have tested one man from Ireland who is a Matt Gann, just trying to see if there's a possibility. And of course, we can't draw much of a conclusion from one test, but he did not match. We've tested 3 or 4 from France, they don't match. We've tested maybe 2 from Belgium, they don't match. We found no matches except in England. And so I don't, in my own mind, without having any proof of this, I think they did originally come from France, from that little town named Gann. But it happened a long time ago, probably as early as when William the Conqueror came in 1066, because he gathered his army right from that section where we know the Ganns were living. And in my book, in the part on Lincolnshire, we know that there were 3 Ganns living in Lincolnshire in 1332, because they had property and they paid taxes. So they're way too early to be the Huguenot Ganns. And for a long time we thought that was right. And you know, they may be the same group of people genetically, but we haven't been able to find anybody to test who links back to that group.